Number 9. Paul TUROVSKY. 34-year-old Paul TUROVSKY from Florida was riding on a high after getting hitched to his beautiful bride. Instead of cherishing the first few private moments of marriage with his new spouse, though, the groom decided to meet up with someone he'd been talking to online. And this wasn't just a buddy that wanted to congratulate him either. TUROVSKY arranged to get together with a local prostitute. While literally on his honeymoon, the man left his sleeping wife in their Tampa hotel room and headed to the other woman. When he got to the agreed-upon meeting spot at a Hyatt hotel, he was immediately arrested. The prostitute TUROVSKY had been chatting with was actually an undercover cop. He was busted as part of a thorough sting operation to cut down sex trafficking in the area. He was just one out of 176 people arrested by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. At the moment, it's unclear if TUROVSKY has been given a sentence since he was taken into custody in August 2022, and there hasn't been any recent updates on the case. Number 8. Let her eat cake. There's all kinds of traditions that couples are supposed to follow on their wedding day, including tossing a bouquet, having a first dance, and one that's apparently highly controversial as of late, cutting the cake. It isn't the action of cutting the cake that has people online riled up. It's what comes after that they're mad about. Many grooms and even a few brides take it upon themselves to have a little fun and stick a bit of frosting in their partner's face. Usually this is all done in good spirits, but sometimes things are taken too far. In November 2022, a TikTok video was uploaded featuring a newly married husband and wife. The footage shows the groom picking up a chunk of cake, cornering the bride, and smashing it into her face. The woman falls down in the process, and the action seems fairly aggressive from an outsider's point of view. She tried to run away and looked as if she was begging her partner not to do it, but once the deed was done, he helped her stand up. They both seemed to laugh it off and move on with their night. The girl, Jade Kennedy, even wrote in the caption of the video that she still loved her arsehole husband. However, TikTok users seemed more upset than the bride. Countless people commented that they would have divorced the man right away. Another person said that the groom was way too rough and that their dad would have taken things into his own hands and knocked him out. Considering the fact that thousands of dollars are typically spent on weddings to make them perfect, this isn't a far-fetched way of thinking. A lot of brides spend a pretty penny getting ready with their hair, makeup, and dress. To have all that effort ruined just for their spouse to shove some cake in their face is kind of ridiculous. Number 7. Mother-in-law. 3 days after saying her vows, Indonesian bride Lydia discovered that her new husband had been sleeping with her mother. This wasn't a new relationship either. The newlyweds had been together for 5 whole years before sealing the deal, so who knows how long the affair had been going on. Lydia and her mom apparently weren't on great terms with each other, and in the past, they frequently argued. It was so bad that Lydia's mom even told her daughter that she wanted horrible things to happen to her. As if that wasn't bad enough, the woman even said she hoped her child would give birth at night so there'd be complications with the delivery. After the wedding, it seemed like the mother-daughter relationship was starting to improve. Little did Lydia know, something disgusting was happening behind closed doors. At least she and her husband got a divorce, but you can't exactly divorce your mom. Number 6. Family time. After the glitz and glam of the wedding ceremony, newlywed couples get to kick back and let the reality of their new lives hit them. Wedding nights are usually reserved for a bride and groom to consummate their union. In other words, people typically get freaky after getting hitched. However, there's a fair share of people who just go to a hotel room and pass out after a long day. But one woman's family wedding night tradition has rubbed many internet users the wrong way. A man posted online in 2020 about his fiance's bizarre family tradition. He said that as the days grew closer to the ceremony, his partner started acting strange. When the couple had a conversation about possible honeymoon locations, a bomb was dropped. The bride-to-be said that she would prefer to stay at her mom and dad's house afterwards. This obviously came as a shock to the man, so he asked why in the world she wanted to do that. The woman went on to tell her fiancé that her family had a special wedding night ritual. Every new couple had to go inside a room and get it on while relatives waited outside. When the husband and wife finish, they're supposed to come out and get praised for their efforts. But that's not all. After the deed is done, A small square section of the bedsheet is taken and added onto a large tapestry the mother-in-law owns. There hasn't been an update on this story since the groom posted, but we can only assume that he called the tradition and possibly the wedding off. Number 5. Paul McMillan. Most new husbands and wives prefer to spend the night after their wedding together. After all, those are special moments, the first of many in a new path of life. Sometimes this isn't possible though, especially if a groom gets arrested during the reception. On August 20th, 2022, Paul McMillan tied the knot with his wife at a hotel in Carlisle. The ceremony itself went very well. The couple exchanged rings, said "I do," and shared a kiss. However, it was pretty much downhill from there. While everyone was having fun and celebrating during the reception, one wedding guest had to be removed for causing a disturbance. The situation escalated after the groom's relative came back to the party. McMillan wanted the man to leave as soon as possible, but he wasn't going out easily. Police were eventually called to the scene. When an officer tried coming up to McMillan and asking what the problem was, the groom pushed him away. Putting hands on a cop is never a good idea. Immediately, more officers tried to get McMillan to calm down, but he responded with several punches and kicks. After a struggle, they were finally able to get the man in cuffs as he reached out trying to bite the officers. The newlywed was extremely remorseful once tensions died down. He apologized for his actions, and because he had no prior violent convictions, McMillan got away with a small fine. His new wife likely tore him a new one though. If your spouse got too intoxicated on your wedding day, would you forgive them and chalk it up to the excitement of getting married? Or would you hold a grudge against them and force them to make it up to you somehow? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. Number 4. Matthew ALMERS. In November 2018, 31-year-old Matthew ALMERS was married at a Philadelphia country club. He must have gotten caught up in the celebrations, or he had way too much to drink, because the young man hit on another girl at his very own wedding reception. By hit on, we mean Matthew sexually assaulted an underage waitress. The teenager caught his attention, and he reportedly asked her multiple times to kiss him. At one point, the man offered the girl $100 to kiss him like she meant it. As if this wasn't disgusting enough, he also followed the minor when she left to use the bathroom. When she was all alone, Matthew trapped her in a stall and touched her inappropriately, exposing himself in the process. The young waitress quickly informed law enforcement after the incident, and they soon showed up to the reception. Police arrived to a very chaotic scene. The groom had punched another worker at the venue when he was told not to bring alcoholic drinks outdoors. Matthew then tried to escape onto a nearby shuttle bus when officers approached him. Luckily, they were able to take him into custody and charge him for the assault. However, he was later released on bail. Surprisingly, this disaster didn't end in divorce. After his arrest, the bride and groom showed up to court holding hands. The groom received 6 years probation in a plea deal, but we can't help but think he got off easy. Number 3. Mistaken marriage. Most couples are together for a good chunk of time before deciding to tie the knot. During this period, you can really get to know the person you're going to marry. At least, that's what you should be doing. In 2022, one Indonesian woman didn't do enough homework on her future spouse. The 22-year-old bride realized after being married for 10 months that her husband was actually a woman the entire time. This story is even more shocking considering the two apparently had sex frequently, yet she somehow still didn't know. The two met on a dating app called Tantan a year before getting married. Erayani Arafif, the supposed groom, claimed that he studied in New York to be a doctor. They quickly hit it off after exchanging a few messages, and then in May 2021, they met in person for the first time. Shortly after, in July of that year, they made it official. According to the wife, whenever she and Arafif were intimate, they'd always turn the lights completely off. Arafif asked the woman to never look too closely at their private area. The unnamed bride even said her former partner would put a cloth over her eyes so she couldn't see what was happening. The illusion was broken when the woman's family realized Arafif wasn't actually a doctor and didn't have a job. The mother-in-law made it her mission to find out the truth and ordered her daughter's husband to strip naked in front of her. Since the truth came out, Arafif has been charged with fraud and could likely face jail time if found guilty. Number 2. Spiked. In 2022, one bride's dream wedding didn't go as planned. Everything seemed fine until her future husband came outside to see Brandy in her wedding dress. She quickly figured out that something was very wrong with her partner. The man started crying uncontrollably and could barely get out a single word. In an interview after the fact, the bride said she really thought he was going to faint and fall down the steep mountain nearby. As she put her hand on his chest, the groom's heart was beating unbelievably fast. Brandy posted a TikTok video about it that day and told viewers that the groom's emotions seemed very heightened and on edge. It got so bad that a nurse had to be called to give the man Billy a checkup. Later on, he was drug tested. It turns out the Kentucky man had been drugged by an unknown guest at the wedding. They slipped Adderall into his drink while he wasn't looking, forcing him to act completely out of character. The drug is commonly used to treat those with ADHD, but people often combine it with alcohol to make the party last all night. To someone who wasn't expecting the unwelcome symptoms, though, the toxin can be a shock to the system and potentially cause seizures. The couple has since updated their viewers on how angry they are at the person who did this. Their special day was ruined all because someone wanted the groom to be extra energetic. Number 1. Till drunk do us part. We've mentioned a few men who got unintentionally out of hand on their wedding nights, but some grooms know exactly what they're doing. An anonymous bride from the UK posted her story online, speaking about her now husband's unforgivable actions after their nuptials. Apparently, the groom got wildly intoxicated during the reception. She mentioned in her post that he didn't do it very often, but when he did drink, it usually went too far. In preparation for this, the couple agreed that on their wedding day they wouldn't get too drunk. Obviously, that's not what happened though. During the celebration, the bride barely saw her new husband. Whenever she did, she could tell he'd been indulging, so she asked him to tone it down. Married couples tend to make grand departures out of weddings, but they weren't able to do so since the groom was unbelievably wasted. The woman said that their cab driver almost refused to take them to the hotel since he was so far gone. After finally getting to their room, she asked her partner for help getting out of her large wedding gown, but he just looked at her with a disgusting glance. Even though the groom has since apologized profusely for his behavior, the new wife says that she struggled to fully forgive him. In her post, the bride said that if he's willing to ruin a day as important as their wedding, what else is he capable of? Do you have any crazy wedding stories? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Bad Badger.